Hey everybody, this is Brett with the Indie Comics Dispatch and broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep within the Milky Way galaxy. This is broadcast from the Dispatch. Good evening, Tier.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
You just got off another live. Like I've
Yeah.
literally watched you all evening long on Instagram on Greg's Seer Nova
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah. It's been a busy day. This is a busy Wednesday, and I
Yeah.
have another event that I'm doing tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah?
With a friend who's a teacher. So doing like a Black History Month interview with them
Well, that's
because
really cool.
of the comics I'm doing. I'm like, wow. Thank you
Soverse
for
is
the
for the
opportunity.
kids.
Yeah, Soverse is for the kids. Like, wait till when Sovereign Cubs comes out, maybe people will believe it then. But well, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that environment. But
I know. We're not live or anything. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Y'all will see it soon. I don't want to make anybody else mad. Like he has all this stuff and he's not doing anything.
You were on Greg's on Seer Nova
Mhm.
live because you have something coming up.
Yes,
I'm gonna
yes, I
mention this every
have.
week until you make $30,000 on your Kickstarter. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, yeah. Like if y'all are feeling that generous, please get us to 30,000. Like, do you know what I can do with that? Like,
Right.
oh my god, like if really, like really, man, y'all get me to that, man. Really, we're gonna do animations.
All the things.
Like
All
I'm
the things.
literally going to issue 10 with every book. Like,
So
I wish.
plug
Oh
your
man.
Kickstarter real quick.
All right, so the Kickstarter that we're doing is Cypher Team Issue 1. Now, a lot of people out there who know me, you know about the Soverse, you know about Cypher Team. Cypher Team is the flagship of the Soverse. It's pretty much a spinoff from the main story that's responsible for the creation of the Soverse, but I had to this is the story that came from that in order for me to build a pass for that story. So this is the cover for it, and I'm gonna angle it, kind of learn
Mhm.
this because I know things are kind of shiny, so it's for this book. But some of
Good.
the cool things that are going on is this cover. After this Kickstarter, this will be the last time you see this cover. Um, yeah, this cover is getting replaced. So if you
Greg's
back the
playing
Kickstarter, huh?
Greg's playing boy. Oh, you have a Kickstarter coming out?
Yeah, I do, Greg. Yeah, I do. so, so if you back the Kickstarter, right? You don't get that. You won't get that cover. You'll get the new cover. However, there will be a tier with 25 open spaces for 25 people to back it that will have the new cover, the original cover, and the variant cover. Um,
Nice.
it'll only be 25 of those original covers sold in this Kickstarter. Um, because after that Kickstarter, they're gone. They're going to be a collector's item. So if you have Cypher Team already, you're one of the lucky ones. If you have a signed copy of that version of Cypher Team, you're even luckier because they're going to disappear. You're not going to see them anymore. It's time for a revamp. And
Yeah.
had to make all my covers be on par with the other ones. And my lead artist, I brought it up to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I think we should." Um, so we're doing that. If you want to see what the cover looks like, I did post the sketch version of it
You
today
did. You
on
did.
my Instagram. So if you go to Instagram, Sovereign Comics, SOVEREIGN, look for the orange lion head, and you'll see it. It's posted today. You'll see the old cover. You swipe left, and you'll see the new sketch. It's pretty dope. Everybody who's seen it has liked it. Um,
I liked
it
it. I saw
yeah,
it.
thank you, Brett. I pulled something out of the book to do it. So and that's the cool part because I think most people caught it Even though there was like a really big line that mentioned it, and then a lot of people didn't catch it. But there's a part in there where one of the main characters like makes a dragon storm. So,
Oh no.
and that's it.
Dan says your books say out of stock on your store. Are you all out of
Yeah,
stock?
yeah. I got to restock, Dan. Don't judge
But you
me.
can back the Kickstarter, Dan.
But yeah,
might be
Dan,
a
back to
strategic
Kickstarter.
kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
back to
This
Kickstarter.
might
Yeah,
be
I've
a
been. Yeah, like I will say the end of 2020 into the beginning of 2021, people bum rushed the store,
Mm.
and things got sold out, which
Well, rightfully
I'm
so too.
grateful for that. What's that?
Yeah, I said rightfully so because your books
Yeah,
are amazing.
thank you. I
So
appreciate
when
it.
does that Kickstarter drop?
It drops Monday
Monday.
on the 15th.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And we're
okay.
gonna have some cool stuff.
Um,
There if you're a day one backer, um, you will get a holographic sticker of the unit patch, which this would be the first time the unit patch has ever been shown, out,
mm,
so there will be a stretch goal for an actual unit patch, but if we don't reach that, it's still at least you'll still have the holographic sticker of the unit patch. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, look for it Monday. I'm sure you probably have a preview link already where people can get informed
mhm,
on
yeah.
your social media.
Yeah,
Um,
if you in my bio, links.sovereigncomics.com, or you can just go to links.sovereigncomics.com, and look up. You'll see the it'll be like jumping out at you. It'll say like Cypher Team is your one Kickstarter, and literally it'll be bouncing out. So you can't miss it. You just click on that, and you can register to be notified um, when the Kickstarter goes live, so you can be day one backer. Of course, those stickers will only be for physical backers. So if you back a
aha,
digital tier, well, if you back a digital tier, I might send you like
get
a
a digital
wallpaper of it.
sticker.
Huh?
You
Yeah,
get a
the digital
digital
is it? Yeah, I work in IT. There's digital versions of me. We're everywhere.
Mhm.
But maybe I'll do a wallpaper for
There you
day
go.
one backers
Good idea.
I'll do a wallpaper of the logo for you. So
Well,
yeah.
speaking of backing and supporting, perfect segue.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
have a Patreon. If you like what we do here at the Dispatch and you want to help keep us in orbit, help keep us broadcasting, you can support us at patreon.com/indiecomicsdispatch. We have 8 patrons still. We got to number 8 last week on the show. Once we get 10, we're going to surprise Scorpio with a random playing of D&D. I've told him earlier that we're canceling it. We're going to honor his wishes. We're not going to play it. Um, and
What? He
no,
doesn't want
and
to?
no, I don't know. I'd made that all up. We're gonna play it.
Oh.
We're gonna play it whether he wants to or not. Um, um,
You're
actually, I
right,
know he's
Scorpio.
watching right now. Scorpio's watching
I know.
right now.
Look at it.
So,
Scorpio put me in my place.
um,
Speaking of, can I do this real quick? Because I'm
yeah,
a
yeah,
patron. I'm a patron.
you
Yes,
are.
I back the show that I am on because I
Yeah,
believe in this show.
yeah.
And if you back, like, here's the book. So
If you're
you
one of
do
our
get
first
it.
time backers, you get that
Mhm.
book.
Get this book. Get these stickers. Stoplight. Yeah, you get those stickers, and then you get 3 more stickers. So you get a
Mhm.
holographic one, a regular one, and then a small regular one. So
Yep.
you get something for your backing. So
And we have
help
special
support
new
us.
stickers coming in that I'm not going to reveal yet, but they're going to
Mhm.
be here I think by the next show, and I'll show them on the next show. I've shown you.
Sweet. Yeah.
Remember the one I showed you?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
I
That's
remember.
going to be
They're gonna
fun.
be dope. They're
Um,
gonna be dope.
we're gonna introduce our guests. I saw Randy backstage. He dropped. I'm not sure what happened to him.
Uh-oh.
Randy, if you're watching, come back to us.
Yeah.
But first up, we have Matt. I spent so much time on David's last name, and I forgot to ask you how to pronounce yours. We're just gonna say Matt. He's a chef, dad, artist, and creative enthusiast. Matt's professional background is as a chef. He worked and trained under French chefs after culinary school and has worked in James Beard award-winning restaurants. Matt, I want to eat your food. Matt has had the opportunity recently to dive back into art and is approaching it all with a fresh set of eyes. Matt,
Nice.
welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for
How
having
you No
No problem.
problem.
me. Yeah.
Thanks for being on. Now I'm hungry.
I know, right?
Oh
man.
man.
So Matt,
That's
what about your particular art that you've been doing lately? Your handle on
Yeah.
Instagram is Matt Draws D&D. And so
Yeah.
I'm assuming it has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, a lot of it is coming right out of like sessions with my D&D group. I get the images in my head and I just want to draw them, and so a lot of it is inspired by that and just really enjoying drawing. So yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I can imagine just drawing the armor from D&D.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of inspiration coming from that game.
Yeah.
Ain't that right,
Um,
Scorpio? You still out there?
I know, yeah. Our next guest is David Geringer. He is a classically and jazz trained pianist and clarinetist. Along with performing music, he's also a skilled composer and songwriter, specializing in emotively enhancing compositions. As a shy, nerdy kid, music helped him become comfortable in his self-expression and expand his perspective of everything around him. David, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. Really
Not a
excited to
problem.
be on the show.
Thanks for being on.
I think you have some fans on YouTube because we have Yay David.
Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to the family at Onishi Press. I know they were really excited and been real supportive of a lot of things that I've been doing. They're a great community as well.
That's real cool.
Very good.
That's real cool.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. David, you kind of helped spur the idea. We were already planning an indie artist night, and you messaged me and said, "Hey, can I be on the show sometime?" And I just think it's so cool what you do. Actually, I've said this many times recently that I love how indie comics kind of has the freedom to incorporate so many different things that normal comics can't. One of those things being music, and I love it when comics have a theme song or a soundtrack or just even a curated playlist that you can listen to while you read. So David, tell us just a little bit about you before we're going to jump into headlines tonight. It's a new thing we're going to try doing, 3 different headline topics that we talk about before we get into the main topic. So David, tell us a little bit about how you got doing what you do.
So when the pandemic started and a lot of like my in-person teaching positions and playing gigs and stuff slowed down, I was sitting home and I write stories and stuff like that with my friends. We made a production team called Next Arc Studios, and I made a lot of music and soundtracks for those sorts of projects. So I can't say exactly what made me want to do it, but I was in different indie comic groups and things like that on Facebook, and I just started reaching out to creators who had really cool content, great artwork, and just said, "Hey, can I make some musical fan art for this?" A lot of people were like, musical fan art? What? Never heard of something like that. It's like, so can I do it? And for the majority of the part, people were cool. They were really open to the prospect. They sent me some really great references, and it was an awesome journey. So fast forward 8 months, I've made about 45 different theme songs for different indie comics, video games, and animations. And we've been getting into making comic music videos and audio dubs for comic books now. So it's been a lot of fun, and I really like to be able to provide that sort of element to indie comics because I know that it helps a lot, especially just having that support, having that additional content, and it's really cool people. So I'm loving it.
There are really cool people in indie comics. I agree. Okay, so we're gonna try a new segment, headlines. I picked 3 kind of marginally related to the topics, topic of art tonight, and then 2 really, and then 1 fun one. So the first being, let me get my screen to share here. Sorry if you're listening on the podcast. I should have had this done already.
Yeah. And plus, they can't see the screen.
They can't see the screen, but I'm going to read along for them. Bleeding Cool, if you guys are out there listening, you have way too many ads on your site. But
stop that stuff.
Stop it. The return of the black and white indie vampire comic. Now, I would say, honestly, there is a big return of black and white comics, period. I think of a bigger acceptance of black and white comics. And so, this article talks about the vampire comic in particular. And I do see a lot of black and white horror comics coming back into vogue. But what do you guys think about black and white comics?
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did it really ever go away? And this is a question. I don't know.
I don't think it did. Like that's why I was kind of like, maybe they're just talking about vampire specific, but I even think just the horror genre in indie has always had a very strong black and white component to it.
Yeah.
I think their question probably goes more towards the big guys. That's what they concentrate on. But as far as like indie, I mean, like Crescent City Monsters is right now is probably one of the most gorgeous black and white books I've seen. So I mean, and they're still there. And that's just one. There's so many that are still there. Then of course, if you count manga, if you're a manga lover
Yeah.
and stuff like that, they've always been black and white. They occasionally do like the color cover, and or the might have a first
Flat
5
color in
pages.
like one page here and there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
Yeah.
a lot. And if you're into ash cans, a lot of ash cans are black and white. So I mean, I think the black and white has always been there. They're probably more thinking about the bigger folks, But I think as far as indie, like you said, it's always. I don't think black and white has ever left out of indie.
Admit,
So,
when I was younger and collecting, like a teenager, really, and I got a black and white comic, I was like, "This is shit!" Like, I would just like, "This is cheap." But as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate the actual artwork and not just the color. And I actually love it now when I get a really good black and white comic.
Mhm.
Mira's Workshop, Palmina, she is creating a book called Mira's Workshop that just looks stunning. Her monochromatic work is just stunning. If you don't follow her, follow Mira's Workshop on Instagram. So
this artist in the article, I like interesting career too, actually.
Yeah.
The whole career, but I like the nostalgia of like coming back to this sort of 90s, describing just getting his ink out, getting a piece of paper, and it's kind of grunge music or something, and just jamming out some comics like that.
Yeah, it was a really fun article. That's on Bleeding Cool. It was just released not long ago, January 29th, so you can probably still find it. Just search for the Return of the Black and White Indie Vampire Comic. And I will say again, like, I think they got it a little wrong, because I think maybe vampire specific, but I don't even think that black and white always had a strong presence in indie because it's cheaper. One, for creators, it's cheaper to get out there.
Exactly.
But two, you can take a lot of fun risks in indie that you can't in some of the mainstream books, and you can risk making a black and white comic, whereas mainstream audiences demand color, like my teenage self.
Yeah, and then like you said, but in horror also, I mean, black and white kind of runs hand in hand with horror, to get that old black and white horror feel of the the 50s and the 60s and stuff like that. Like, I even have a black and white comic. It's not. Well, then that's what I mean. Black and white variants. So I have a black and white variant comic. So, and I must think about issue 2. I have a variant where it's black and white. Is and I've seen a lot of people do that too. So, like I said, like in the indie world, I don't know. I don't think they meant indie.
No,
I don't think they meant
I think it's
black
also
and white is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
I was gonna say black and white is it's interesting for me because I have a vision impairment, and so I have like what's it called? It's not color blindness, but it's more of a color deficiency. So when things are just black and white, it can be difficult to make out what's going on in a scene unless it's really high quality, like monochromatic work, like they have different shades of gray and things like that. So I've read some black and white comics that are really easy to get through, and others where, for my eyes specifically, it just looks like lines.
Yeah.
So I do think that people looking at accessibility and, with comic books and things of that nature, that's definitely something else worth keeping in mind as people create.
Yeah,
Definitely.
great point. Great
Yeah,
point.
you want folks to read your books. I mean, that's just.
It's always rough when they have like the black word bubbles with the red letters. That's torture for me. And there's some great comics with text like that, and it's like got to bring out the magnifying glass.
Oh man.
I think that black and white is really cool too, though, because it's letting the person who's looking at it kind of add stuff themselves. So you have a chance as a viewer to kind of be a little bit creative in just looking at it. You might add your own colors and things, and it can be a little intense, actually.
Yeah,
True.
Very true.
That's really cool.
Very true.
The next article on my docket here is from Sci-Fi Wire. Black indie creators discuss the importance of sequential art in the age of protest. Now, I think if we pulled this article up at any point on Afrofuturism Night when John Jennings and Stacey Robinson were on the panel, they'd be like, sequential art has always had a place in protest. you think back to Martin Luther King Jr. and the Montgomery movement they distributed a comic book to teach people how to peacefully protest. So I think it's, sequential art comics have always had a place in protest. But in particular, I think this past 4 years, it's been more important than ever sometimes to have that as an outlet. So what's been your guys' experience with comic as a form of protest or an expression of protest?
I know with me personally, I don't know. I don't use it as that. I guess in my way, the way that I protest with it is a way to escape from it. To not necessarily take your mind off of it, but as a way of escape.
Which is equally important sometimes to have a safe.
It is very important. For me being a veteran and driving my nice blacked out car to work where I work in IT, I could probably get instantly mistaken. Oh, he probably sells drugs. I don't want to come back and read a comic that's gonna. Oh, he sells drugs. That's just me personally. I want to come back and read something that's gonna take my mind off it because I live that daily, especially living in Colorado. So I personally don't want to see that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I know a lot of people are doing that. But the way that I do it, even though I do it, write my comments as a way of escapism, there is still stories in my comics that are being told that reflect real life. Brett, you've read.
Yeah,
the Lapusians. You read Yamo Stigmata issue 2. That is literally slavery being retold, but in space. So I mean, I do that. Like even with the Zenith, and you have the Protectors of Mankind. The Protectors of Mankind, you could think of them as the Proud Boys or the or the KKK or whatever. But the thing is, they have multiple shades of color. They're just fighting against individuals with powers because they are prejudiced against individuals with powers. I still have it in my books, but it's not on the nose. Like if you're reading it, you're gonna have fun. But if you digest it, you're gonna be like, oh crap, I see the story he was telling. And that's what when I do it, that's what I like to tell. Because even with the Lapusians, when I was writing that, I had no idea what I was writing until I went back and looked at it and read the script, and I was like, holy crap, I just wrote this, and I had no idea that was the direction it was going until I started really digesting it. And Brett even came back and told me, he was like, I saw what you did there. I'm like, yeah, it's in there, but I don't know. That's me. Like I said, I don't think it's wrong when people do it. Everybody has their way of expressing themselves, and that's fine. Express yourself however you want to, as long as you aren't hurting anyone. That's fine.
So Matt, have you ever used art as a form of protest?
For marches and things, sure, definitely. Like making signs to wear during different protests. The Iraq War and different things like that. I'm just it was a really good article, and I guess I'm just struck with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with D&D is very light, and it's very it's meant to just sort of crack a smile and feel kind of light, and it was just a reminder to me how powerful images can be. So I haven't done a lot with it, but it's quite a powerful tool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. David, as a musical artist, musician, have you ever used your art form as a way of protest, or found peace in it? I guess like Tier and Matt have.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the really things that's drawn me into music, and it's been really powerful, is this ability to create and resonate a message and to really influence change. So in a band that I play in, it's called Doom Sound. It's the sound of the drums, not like doom metal. It's DOUM. But we've made a lot of songs where they talk about unity and bringing people together. There was a song that we wrote, and we had broadcasted it, and we're making it sort of in light of what was happening in Syria and a lot of the violence that was going on in the Middle East. So just to be able to use our talents for music to create a message and, share a voice that other people may not get a chance to hear has been super powerful. It's sort of like I mentioned, I grew up as really shy, nerdy kid, didn't really feel like much of a leader or that people really cared about what I had to say. But when I played music, people listened and people were looking. And I was like, this is cool. So this is a way that I can, share what's inside me and really realize my own potential and really influence changes. So
That's cool. That's
for
cool.
sure.
Nice.
Final article, and let me say that there was a headline I almost added late yesterday that I didn't, and I'm just really glad none of you showed up with the cat filter on. If you have-
Oh, that was so good.
I'm not a cat.
Judges, we can start though. I'm not a cat. I promise.
Oh,
We can
this
move
article
forward.
from a little bit ago, and it was around the Netflix show Warrior Nun. But 10 obscure 90s indie comics that Netflix should turn into TV shows. This is full of some great nostalgia if you grew up during the 90s and had any idea what indie comics were in the 90s. The Tale of One Bad Rat, Baker Street, Peep
I thought they did
Show,
do something with Baker
Classic,
Street.
Mickey, so many in this one. But if you could pick one indie comic, obscure or otherwise, that you feel should be pulled into a Netflix show, and you can't name your own tier.
I wasn't gonna answer. I'm not even gonna answer.
What would it be? Mine. I just posted about it. I think yesterday. I've done a couple posts on it recently through the Dispatch too. Brother Man comics. Would be a fantastic show, a limited series for Netflix. Netflix. I know you watched the show, so give me some.
Of course they do. They DM me the other day. No, they didn't.
David, what you got any picks?
For indie comic, can it be like any indie comic that I've read?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, any.
All right, so there's one in particular in terms of like a live action series that I think would be awesome. It's for this series called Blake Undying by Jason Cook. I don't know if anyone here has read it.
On the Dispatch, actually.
That story is so good. It especially after I was watching The Boys, because it sort of has this really dark tone. It's about this hero who can't die, but is like super depressed and isn't sure how he wants to deal with that. But he's a good person and is doing his best to go through life. But there's a lot of corporate. There's a lot of things going on. He's told me some of the story. I don't want to spoil any of it. Had a great time making a theme song for it. But that show would be awesome.
Sounds like it would be cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Matt, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I would. I would go for Frankenaut. I don't know if you guys know this one. John Osborne. And his Instagram is John Osborne Art. And it's a really cool, let's see, there's another, I got two of them. Can you see it?
Looks like a large magazine. Is that a larger format too?
I think it's standard.
Okay,
format.
it just looks a little different.
And is that Frankenstein as an astronaut?
He's like a space zombie who's he's got such swagger and great character, and he's kind of like a tester. And he's in like these stadium events where people are kind of watching, and just all these adventures. And they're really just a fun character and a fun series. And that's you can find this artist John Osborne at John Osborne Art on Instagram.
That's really cool. That's
That would
really
be
fun.
really fun. It's just the character he has for Frank is just really lovable and fun and action, and
That's great.
yeah.
Tier? What would you pick that cannot be a Sovereign Comics title? You know what I thought
man.
that you and I have discussed? I want to add another one. Sidekick
What's
for
that?
Hire.
Yeah, that'd be
You
dope.
might-
That'd be a dope show. There's a couple that I think would make pretty cool shows if they let the creators, have control over. I think Delta Dogs will make an interesting show.
It would. You're right.
Because of the whole, it would be a totally different family dynamic, you know, and with the way they go up against gangs and stuff, and if it's done right, you know,
Delta
not just
Dog
gangs, but
Williams
super powered gangs and stuff like that. Like if it's done right, then it could be a cool show. If you're into sci-fi, Raxon Universal, it will probably cost a lot of money because it's mechs and ships everywhere, but that would make a good one. I think Tilt would make a good show.
Oh, Tilt would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, reminds me of Hancock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. You know, and that's the reason why, like, to have it ongoing and you just have this dude every episode doing something like that would make a cool show.
Every single episode, updating hairstyle every single episode.
Exactly. You know, I just want to see a real dude sitting on the wing of a plane eating a sandwich as it's flying. Like, if I see that, I'm like, yep, oh, there we go. You know, I just want to see that in real. Gosh, there's a couple of others. I think Goth Ghost Girl from Ovation Comics would make a good one. That would make a good show. There's a lot. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of titles running through my head, but there's a lot that I think will make some good shows. Mainly because they're all different, and that's what I like. I've said it many times on many different episodes. That's what I love about indie, because you have people doing just things that you wouldn't see normally, like a space on Frankenstein, like really Frankenstein in space, like you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just is and that's the cool part. That's the cool part about the indie world, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
I've had the reverse experience where have you guys seen the show Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts?
Yes.
Do you like that?
Yes.
Yes. It's a colorful. It's a colorful show. It has some dark beats to it too. Like, and that's the part that makes me like, I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Music is amazing.
I feel left out here.
The music is amazing, and so now I want to read the web comic. I didn't read the comic, so I'm going like reverse. I want to see the comic. Yeah.
And see, like, even with that, like, to prove that, most web comics, you know, like on Webtoons, those are indie mangas or indie creators. And Crunchyroll is picking them up and making TV, you know, making animes and stuff like that. And a lot of them are beating out some of the bigger ones, like God of High School and what's another one? It was God of High School, Tower of God. Those two were like really big when they came out, and they were just somebody created it on Webtoons and got the opportunity to make an animation, and they came out and people loved them, you know. And
that's cool.
So I mean, yeah, in the indie world, indie world's unstoppable. I think that's the reason why a lot of they're kind of scared of the indie world. We have too much going on. We have to. I think once people dive into indie world, it's hard to get out. It's like you're not diving in a pool; you're diving in quicksand. Like if you come into the indie world, you know. So.
If you're craving variety, if you're craving representation, if you're craving unique and different storylines that aren't the same storylines from the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s and the 2010s and the 2017, then go indie, because it's all unique. Exactly. It's all really cool. We are getting closer to halfway through the show here. I want to remind everybody that you can share this feed. You can share it. We appreciate you sharing. Sharing is caring, and as Tier says, it costs you free $99 to share this stream.
Free $99.
And so you can
Don't
share
be selfish.
if you are listening.
Money well spent.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If you're listening on the podcast after the fact, rate, like, share, subscribe, do whatever your particular podcast platform lets you do, because we are on all the podcast platforms, and it really does go a long way for helping our podcast get noticed. Also, another good opportunity to remind everybody of the patreon.com/indiecomicsdispatch. We have 8 patrons. 8. We need 2 more patrons, and we get to make a Scorpio play D&D for the first time. May even have to talk to Matt about commissioning a drawing of Scorpio's character for him.
I was just thinking that. Like, maybe that'll get Scorpio into it, you know.
It might. If we commissioned a character portrait for him, it may get him doing it. So
do you guys have characters already?
No. Chris from Homebrew Comics is going to DM for us, and he's going to come with pre-made character sheets for us to make it easy. So,
cool.
Anyway. If you want to see Scorpio play D&D one way or another, sir, Patreon.com/Indie Comics Dispatch. And once we get to 10 patrons, we're going to start planning that game.
It's gonna be on one of our Indian friends, probably our ICD and Friends night.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
gonna be
First of the
wild.
month, every Wednesday. First of the month is ICD and Friends night, and we'll do it one of
We
those.
might get banned off of some social network that night. I'm pretty sure.
No. Okay, let's get to the main topic for tonight, which is indie artists. We have two different types of indie artists. I saw, like I said earlier, I saw Randy pop in. I had my books by Randy ready, so I'm still going to give him a quick shout out because he is in Switzerland, so something I'm sure has come up. But Randy is an illustrator, and I was so hoping to have him on the show. He's done work for Marvel, DC. He was a Coretta Scott King Award winner in 2003. He's just got all sorts of artist credentials, and I was hoping to have him on here tonight. But Randy, if you're watching this after the fact, sometime, my man, sometime. So let's dive into art. And so we have two different types of artists here, which I love. Again, the diversity in indie comics is fantastic. Really, I guess writing is an art form too. So really, we have three different types of artists here between the three of you. So who are your art heroes? Who inspires you? Give some shout outs here for who at the end of the day, if somebody compared you to this person, you would do your fangirl scream and be so excited.
Anyone
Who wants to go first?
Either one of you would go first.
Well, I mean, my original art hero is my older brother, who is just a real deal artist. He's a sculptor, a fine artist, and I just remember as kids, like we went to the Field Museum or something, and we'd come back and he would take clay and make like blue whales just to scale and perfect, and dinosaur things. And now, he's making wonderful woodworking sculptures. So anyway, he's probably my big hero is actually my older brother.
That's so cool. I love that.
And actually, you can, if you want to check it out, it's really amazing woodworking stuff. He's at Aaron Lauck's Design on. Yeah.
Very cool. Matt, if you have access to the chat, on at least my end, your audio got a little scrambled. I'm not sure if everybody's did that or not.
Yeah,
maybe
it scrambled a little bit. I think that was the government.
Click on it.
Government trying to block out the name.
Yeah. CIA.
Don't say that name.
David, who are your art heroes, or who inspires you?
I would say an art hero, one of my personal mentors, and he actually passed away last year. So rest in heaven. His name's Danny Leak. And Danny Leak was a super famous sound engineer. I was just very blessed to meet him and be one of his mentees. He was a sound engineer for Stevie Wonder and a lot of other like really, really famous cats of that caliber. So to just, be able to go to his house for 6 weeks and he's talking to me about music and engineering and giving me some real insight on what it takes to be an engineer, it was very much life-changing. So if I could ever get half to his level in terms of sound engineering, I would be over the moon, because he was a beast. He was a war veteran, a sniper. Imagine that sort of precision when it comes to mixing a track.
Attention
He
to
was a
detail is
studio
off the charts.
guitarist. Yeah, studio guitarist, played all over. People knew him for playing music. So I mean, just a super prolific career. And just very, very genuine about helping the younger generation. Like, one of the things he told me is, like, when you get to be as old as me, the only thing to do with all this knowledge is to pass it on to other people. And he was definitely about that.
I love that. I love it when people are that way and just gracious with knowledge and sharing it versus keeping it all to themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The way I look at it is, what am I going to do with it in the grave? like
Exactly.
It's best to pass it on. Pass it on, and then you leave, someone who's in a sense following in their footsteps, like how you said he mentored you and everything. He created another. He passed on, but he created another badass. And now, now you're doing using the things that he taught you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you spread on knowledge. So,
Tier, who's your inspiration for writing?
oh man, I I have a couple, like a lot of different ones. Stephen King for writing. Dwayne McDuffie. Who he passed away in I think what 2011 I think. But Dwayne McDuffie, who pretty much did Static and was one of the individuals who
I mean,
helped to create
the
Milestone.
the architect
Mm.
behind most of Milestone.
Yeah, and then he did a lot of stuff like everybody who you like Justice League, the cartoon and Justice League Unlimited. He is the man behind that. One of the reasons why John Stewart was the Green Lantern. He pushed that forward. Stanley, of course. Jack Kirby. I always had this running thing that I used to say jokingly before Stan Lee passed. I was like, the thing that will make my day, and if Stanley were just to say, who the hell is Sovereign Comics? Like, nothing even, even like nice or anything. Just like, who the
Just
hell
said
are
the
those
name.
guys? Yeah, who the hell is Sovereign Comics? I'm like, what? He said, but he passed on. But I mean, those are some of my inspirations, especially with writing. As far as horror, Wes Craven. I like a lot of the horror he does. I really like. Let me see who else. Why is this dude's name escaping me right now? John Carpenter is another one. So yeah, so there's a lot of different people that I look at, and I'm like, I look at their creativeness, and I don't mimic it, but I try to look at it. Oh, as far as comics too, of course, can't forget, the creator of Spawn. I'm not gonna say his name. People are gonna go crazy. But yeah, Todd McFarlane. I want to be like Todd when I grow up. Like that dude, he loves his fans.
He does.
He
He does. He
loves
does
his
a
fans.
lot just for fans, which is amazing.
Yeah, like the things he does, the way he treats his company, the way he treats his fans, just how excited he is about everything that he does. He doesn't like come up like, yeah, here's my comic book, or when he shows action figure, yeah, here's my action figure. He's like making the gun shooting noises and stuff like that. Like, Spawn comes out with a sword, whoosh, and that's the stuff I look at. I'm like, yeah, like, and seeing that and see how people gravitate towards that. I try to bring that excitement. I mean, I'm gonna bring that excitement because I'm talking about things that I've created, but to see that there are big creators still loving that, still having that excitement about their stuff too.
Yeah.
It's something that I can look towards and say, oh wow, okay, so I am doing it right. People like it like that. So, but yeah, it's a list.
Do you want to know who my art hero is not?
Who's that?
John Romita.
I know who it is.
It's not John Romita Jr. I hate that dude.
Not John Romita Jr. We're gonna get him on the show one day. I'm ready. I'm ready for that conversation.
John Romita, you only have a job because of your dad. Just throwing that out there. So Tier. Yeah, I hate him. Tier, you want to know what happened a few moments ago from I'm assuming Matt's household? We got patron number 9.
We did. Oh,
we
snap.
did. We were one patron away from our 10 patron
snap.
goal of
Where's
having
Scorpio at?
Scorpio play his first game of D&D live on air. One person away. If you're out there watching thinking, I have $3 extra a month, you should give it to the dispatch. We'll take it. If you have $10 extra, that's even better. So this is an interesting one to me, and especially for Matt and David. Looking at the tools of your trade, the tools of your art form. What are the most useful and frequently used that you just didn't think would be? Like, what do you find yourself going to time after time that maybe you didn't initially imagine an artist of your nature would use?
Man.
I know with music, one of the things is I would say loops. So anybody who isn't familiar with making music, it's just like short audio sample that you can loop and it plays over and over and over again, and you can add other instruments and sounds around it. As I was making more music and listening to more music, I was just like, how do these other engineers get these sounds this way? It's like, I know they don't spend years mixing and all this time like hiring artists and things like that. And I found out like, oh, you just download Splice or something like that and you get some high quality loops and, you know, apply your music around it. So I still do a lot of composition and things like that. But the way that it's been able to take sound quality up 10, 12 notches without having to, you know, spend a whole lot more work and a lot more time, I don't mind giving that cheat code out, because it's not going to get you across the finish line, but it will get you a lot further than trying to figure out how to become this master engineer, because there are a lot of other people who aren't really putting that work in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I put the work in, but if you're doing both, you know, you get the best of both worlds. But if there's anybody out there who's making music and is looking to get started and you want to get on the fast track, get you some high quality loops, download Splice, and it'll pay for itself. You know how to market yourself a little bit.
Very good.
That's what I use when I make music. That's why I want to talk to you, because the one thing I use is loops. I need to.
Hey,
need
that
an
gets
actual
you,
producer.
that gets you a good amount of the way there. And if you're an indie creator, that's all you need, you know, to really get your foot in the door with the sound.
This is my favorite answer to this question: herbal stress relievers. The national or the state plant of Colorado, right?
Colorado State Plant. That's what I use.
Oh,
Nice.
Matt, what about you? I mean, you came out of being a chef and re-exploring your art again. What have you been using that maybe you didn't think you were?
Yeah, I think when I was starting, I was kind of going with pens and things, and then I guess the answer to your question is I realized that I like brush ink more with a brush, and maybe it's because the stress of a pen running out, or you know, because pens are great. For a while now, I've really done all my lines and things just with a small brush and some ink and ink wash and stuff, and I love that. And I guess I wouldn't have expected that. That was sort of an evolution this last year, even.
That's really
cool.
Yeah,
I can understand it. I didn't use paintbrushes, but whenever I used to ink traditionally, I had the pen nibs. But then I found this, and you've probably seen it before, but it's like this is a brush tip, but it has ink in the body of it. And so I started using that, and then I was like, oh wow, now I see why people can use a brush, because it was pretty cool. But I kind of got nervous one time because like I was just practicing and I squeezed a little too hard, and it was like, oh, no. I was like, see, that's the reason why I can't. But so I stuck to like pen nibs, and then eventually I went digital. But I see what you mean with that. Like something about a brush, you know, you can get some really dope line works with a brush.
Yeah, definitely. I do nibs too, but I think that's where it's thrilling.
Randy, who actually submitted some questions via email before the show, one of the answers that I loved on his list was scrap paper as an artist. He found himself using scrap paper way more than he ever thought he would.
That makes sense.
I totally agree with that too. You know, I think I'm always when I got an image in my head, I just find a small piece of paper, and it doesn't have to be. It can just be anything, and just get something on there, just to get it, just to start, and then take it to, you know,
the next level.
Piece of paper that's better.
Yeah, I've done that with logos, like a sticky note. I've done that with logos. Even whenever I come up with an idea, if I have a sticky pad beside me, I'll just jot it down, or I use the notes in my phone. That's one thing I would say I probably use more than I thought I ever would use is notes on my phone.
Straight up, I agree with that.
So many stories on my phone, and I just went through it because I actually want to do a book that's going to be Twilight Zone. It should be like a short story book rather than a comic. And I just sat there and looked. I was like, wow, I wrote like 12 different plot synopsises in my notes, you know, and they're just sitting there waiting, like whenever you're ready to write the story. But you know, they're there. Like that thing's been a lifesaver.
Everything I do starts in the notes on my phone. Everything.
Yeah. With all these little scrap drawings and things, I have a hard time pitching them, and I don't usually, because I actually sometimes like them more than the finished piece, because there's just something more, real there.
Yeah.
It was the first time you kind of hit that idea. And a good friend of mine, who's an art teacher, kind of gave me some confidence over the summer. And he's like, you know what? Just go right on to your main page first with it, and don't even do the little scrap. Just go right for it. And I've been trying that, and it's pretty exciting.
That's cool.
That's
so
very
cool.
fun. Very fun. So, Matt, I don't know that you've worked with clients per se yet, have you?
I've done collaborations and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with some of them.
Yeah.
So, with working with other people for both of you,
Yeah.
Matt, thinking forward, if anybody wants to commission you, what's one thing you want clients to know about working with an artist, especially, indie comic creators are a lot of writers largely, and they sometimes don't get the value attached to an art form. David, I imagine people come to you thinking you'll make them a beat for $20, and
he's like, what? He's like, that's one bar.
and I do know you're right.
If you want a $20 beat,
here's a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's your $20.
What would you want to say to
it's a hi-hats
working with artists?
I mean, it really depends on how someone is approaching you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know one thing that is really important for me when somebody approaches me with working on anything is I want to see what you're working on. Like if someone just reaches out and is like, "Hey, can you make some music for me?" It's like, maybe, but like, what are you doing? Like, I want to see what it is that, and that speaks volumes for a lot of reasons, but mainly when you have creators that love to create and you show them that you're doing something that's interesting and they enjoy and they resonate with it, now you can start creating partnerships. And if someone shows me something that's really cool and I want to be a part of it and they're willing, then it might not even get into a whole commission conversation. So sometimes people they're selling themselves out by saying like, "Hey, can you just do this for me?" And I don't really want to talk about it. It's like, but if you want to just approach it like that, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But sort of just letting people know this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it and why I like it. You can get so many more people attracted to your projects. And I guess in terms of the money side, it's like, I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of time. And with me working with indie creators, I do keep the indie budget in mind. Like for a professionally mixed piece of music, just for the mixing of it, you can pay over $200 per song. That's just for the mix. That's not paying for any musicians to come and like play sounds or to arrange the piece or any of that. So when I let someone know that this is how much that I charge, and I've already considered, all of these different factors, and it's a great price, and they're like, I don't really know if that's worth it. It's like, it makes me feel like I'm not sure if if they're really looking into what these things cost and if they're taking their career seriously.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and I think a lot of people miss. There's a line that I use that I tell people, because even with my comics, everybody asks, "Well, how do you get such great quality? Where do you find your artists?" And I always say, you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for, and that's not necessarily saying that an artist or a musician who charges less isn't going to do a great job, but you get what you pay for. Like if you're willing to, if you're willing to pay that artist what they ask for, and you're not trying to talk them down, they might even bring down the price. Or if they see it, they look at it like, dang, okay, you paid me, and then they're gonna cough out, like some badass work, and you're gonna be like, holy crap. Like one of the artists that I use for my variant covers, Francisco Tomaselli. Like I just asked him straight up, how much do you charge? He was like, this. And I was like, here you go. And he was like, can we work together again? Yes, we can. Every variant I need, we'll work together. So it's like I didn't try to talk them down. I was just like, here you go. I do that with all my artists. Like, how much do you charge? This. Here you go. Because I want I'm an artist myself. So if someone comes to me and say, hey, can you do character concept for me? And I tell them my price, I want them to pay me. If they can't, you know, if they can't meet that, I might work with them, especially if I can tell, like you said, like I could tell that they're eager. This is what they want. They're serious about bringing, you know, their product to life. Then I'm like, okay, I'll work with you a little bit. But I've had people before who wanted me to do logos and stuff for them, and they're like, okay, so how much for this? You know, my cheapest one is like $50 for just like just one black and white logo. But then I have ones where I make it for social media sites and stuff like that. It's scaled to the size of whatever they need and everything, different colorways and all of this other stuff of the logo. So
Yeah.
I've had people say $50. Oh, that's too much. I'm like, well, my highest one is like 500. Like, do you want to get that one instead?
The power of paying somebody what they ask for is like,
yeah.
When I tell someone this is how much I charge, and they're like, no problem, here's the money.
Yeah.
I
think we missed you on sound.
Yep.
There it is.
Oh,
They're good. Your sound went out for a moment.
Yeah, your sound cut out a little bit.
I see. I got a call.
No
But
I thought
yeah,
maybe you were cussing up
when
a
you tell
storm.
someone like this is how much I charge, and they're like, cool, here you go. It's like I definitely put in more effort than I would when I have to like negotiate and haggle my price. It's like if you're having any issues with audio after the fact, you got different formats. You want me to cut together small snippets. It's like, yeah, you've respected my time and my price.
Sure.
I will, you know, give you the top quality service. It's not to say that you don't, but when someone's like, oh, it's not really worth it, that's when you get to nickel and diamonds. Like, oh, okay, if you don't think it's worth it, then everything that you ask me for, I'm going to charge you to show you that this is what the process is. Exactly.
Like I've had people.
I think it's
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like a lot of it is the relationship and kind of almost the respect for the creative process. And if there's an eagerness, you know, an appreciation of that creative process, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of people like that. They like the understanding of the creative side. Because I know we all probably heard it like, what? You want that much? I can get my cousin who's in 8th grade who can do that. Okay, well, get your cousin who's in 8th grade.
Why are you talking to me then?
Your logo that you're going to use for your business, I guess. You know, I'm not saying they're not good, but you know, but even like what you said, like when people who have paid me what I asked for, and during the whole time they were good with the relationship of everything. Like I've had people come back to me a year later and say, hey, we did some color changing. You did? Yeah, I do it. I do it for free. I still have your logo on file. I do it for free. Like I've done that before. People come back. You know, I'm lettering a comic right now, and you know, the Delta Dogs comics, and I gave him a deal. Like I'm going through and relettering his first 10, and I gave him a deal on that. You know, because he paid what I asked for. And he's the relationship is there. Like we're friends also, but he paid what I asked for. He wasn't like, oh, we're friends. Can you cut me a deal? Now he was like, how much? I told him. He was like, here you go. I was like, I'm gonna make your dope. I'm gonna do everything I can to make these letters badass.
Everything.
So yeah. So I mean that it helps a lot.
Gerald Boney on Facebook. Shout out to David for Myth Smith's theme song. I just have to pop that. I love Myth Smith. I freaking love Myth Smith. So if you don't know Myth Smith, check it out. Check out Gerald's work. He's amazing. What is your dream project? If somebody were to drop you a project right now and it was your dream project, what would it be?
Well, for me, it would be in a kind of creative setting where I'd love to work with a group of collaborative, creative people just coming up with stuff, you know, world building, anything. And it'd be fun to kind of bring in some of the food, my food side, and I could imagine having like a fun kind of food happening art place where there's music and there's art and it's a hangout and there's food. And so I would love to have something like that. I think would be probably my dream.
This sounds amazing, and I'm hungry.
Yeah, it does. That would be dope.
Yeah.
You might have another business on your hands right there, man.
Yeah.
Like artist eatery. Like,
well, because I mean, I could imagine, you know, people just, you know, nobody's going to restaurants now, but when you know, I think everybody's ready for something new where we want to go and we want to eat, and we want to hang out, and we want to have an experience. And I'm just imagining not just like a dinner theater, but like there's stuff happening. There's maybe live art being projected and cool music, and maybe there's a performance. Maybe there's like a live D&D session happening, and the audience is like part of it, and you're also eating food, and it's, you know, it's a thing, something to do.
Background playing his music.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're starting a
Yeah.
thing, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the
Yeah.
best convention ever.
Turns out
Yeah.
Matt's dream
For real.
project is also my dream project.
Yeah, food, music, comics.
Yeah.
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 And music, and yeah, because then you've had an experience that is meaningful, and storytelling. That's really what it is people have stories, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
David, what's
Very
your dream project, man?
My dream project would to be one day perform music that I've made for indie comics with like a live symphony orchestra arrangement. That's just awesome to take something that I've only heard in a digital sound space and have musicians that bring it to life with a full arrangement. That's what I'm working toward. I want to be
That would
Quincy Jones with it, with indie
that'd be
comic
awesome.
music.
That.
That would be dope.
Dan Schmidt, author of Worms Crawl In, says, Matt, you should please make a comic book about horror food.
Horror food.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That's a dope idea.
Yeah.
oh,
Cool.
Tier. Dream
Hey,
project. Man, why not?
I don't know. I'm kind of
Quentin
living a lot of them with
art,
mine. But
food, music, gaming, comics on one. I want to go.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Where Quentin said, that's like I love both of these ideas that they gave. I don't know. Maybe to get more comics out. Like, you know,
That's
like,
the
I don't
dream
know, like,
project.
yeah, that's the dream project right there. Just keep pushing, keep moving forward.
My dream
on these
project is
comics,
you're moving to Atlanta.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
We could
Honestly,
build
that
a
would be
studio like Aaron and Matt.
yeah, that would be great. Like honestly, I do want to move back out east because I think everybody that I know who is really, you know, big into
Cool.
comics and the indie scene and cool, yeah, are all back east. Like I don't know too many indie comic creators here.
Yeah.
At least I don't. Everybody I talk to is back east. So,
Um,
but
well, guys, what other artists or creators are you following right now? Let's give some shout outs. Who do you
Yeah.
think other people should be following?
Do you guys follow Jink Beast? Do you know?
I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm
On
right.
Instagram. She has amazing, colorful characters with kind of an Egyptian theme. Really fun, really wonderful. Her main character's name is Newbie and easy to relate to. So I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another really good diary comic I follow, Mariana Furiosa, and so she does a really great, really beautiful diary comic. And there's these small scenes of her day going around town. You might see, ducks, or she interacts with some cats or things, and it's just these really touching, kind of normal things of a day, and I really enjoy that.
It's really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I got one more. The Domesticated Afterlife. At the Domesticated Afterlife. Amazing artist, and the story is it's this afterlife with these animals, and talks about domestication, and there's a lot of mysticism and society, and looking at kind of all these just lots of symbolism. And there's just some of the art is just some of the most beautiful art I've seen. One of the pictures I love the most that he's done is there's this afterlife vessel, and these animals are on there, kind of like a Noah's Ark or something, and sort of like a spaceship, and there's these hands kind of guiding it into a bottle or out of a bottle, and it's all these kind of like metaphors, birth, death, just really beautiful imagery.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
In fact, I just pulled it up real quick here. Domesticated Afterlife.
Oh, Yes.
right there on Instagram. And then the first one you mentioned also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. There's Newbie.
David, who you following right now?
I definitely want to give a big shout out to Macchiato Studios and Oneshi Press. The people there, they sort of worked with me when I first started my musical fan art journey, and they're just really awesome people. I've been working with them ever since. With Oneshi Press, we just put out an audio comic for one of their series called Mr. Guy. So it's super fun to work on. You can get it for free if you sign up for their newsletter at onishipress.com. And they're really awesome. Their whole platform, it's about they're very much about diversity and representing unrepresented stories and people and mind, body, and spirit, which is right up my alley. So when they decided to work with me, it was just a blessing because they've been doing publishing and things like that for a while, and I'm really new to the scene. So to really see and believe and trust me to work with them has been an honor. And same with Macchiato Studios. It's personally been the best manga I can say I've almost ever read, whether it be indie or not. It's this really awesome, emotionally driven story. We're working on audio comic for that now. And again, it's just the creators are very genuine. Hotep Anthony, the person that I talk with mostly, me and him created a Facebook group called the Indie Clubhouse, which is a group that's centered around increasing readership for indie comics. So really appreciate Brett for writing about us and the January indie groups to look for. So we're definitely about creating more of a platform for this creativity and letting the audience know that if you want stories that are diverse and different, they're here. Just, support it so you can see more of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say real quick, shout out to Indie Clubhouse too, that we are doing a monthly top 10 list poll based on within the Indie Clubhouse. So if you want to vote on that, see this last month we did favorite indie superheroes, which we'll be posting that later this week on indiecomicsdispatch.com, the full write-up. And so we're posting those exclusively on Indie Clubhouse. So if you want to take part in those polls, you got to find that Facebook group and join it.
Join it. It's a good group. I'm in there too.
Catalyst Comic Studio says, and we appreciate the heck out of that group.
Yeah. It's a dope group. It's a dope group.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all. More table reads to come. Got a comic you want us to read live? Bring in my voice acting friends to come and do an awesome performance. So
cool.
Stay tuned.
That would be dope. Okay,
I
could think of some comics.
We're just over an hour here, and we're trying to keep it close to an hour nowadays for the podcast feed. You're welcome, podcast listeners. So, guys, I just wanted to circle back and say thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to pop your Instagram feeds up there because it was easiest to pull up for me. D_Major_Studios. If you want to see what David has going on, he's also prolific on Facebook, and especially in the Indie Clubhouse group. Go look up that group and join that group, and you can connect there. But follow him on Instagram also. Like I said, his prices are very reasonable. In fact, I've quasi mentioned to him that I want him to redo the intro to Indie Comics Dispatch to broadcast from the Dispatch. Even though I kind of like that song, having something unique and original to us would be amazing. You can help us get to that point by being our 10th Patreon. See how I did that transition? We need one more patron.
Killing it, Britt.
Maybe next week we can spare David to do a brand new intro for a broadcast from the Dispatch. Patreon.com/IndieComicsDispatch. Comics is with an X. So go follow David. Also, I wanted to show off some of Matt's artwork here. If you're listening to the podcast, sorry, this is a visual part. We are a live stream, and you can join us most Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. But Matt has some amazing artwork on his page. Matt Draws D&D all together on Instagram. Amazing artwork that I have loved. We actually used a piece of Matt's artwork to talk about the Indie Comic team up article that we wrote about to be the banner image there, because I am in love with Matt's artwork.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very colorful.
Really
It
awesome.
is. Isn't it just
Yeah.
amazing?
Thank you, guys. That's awesome.
So I had a
That's it. Very colorful as you go into the
as I got
grayscale.
to the black and white.
Well, where you are right there actually is my contribution to the Artery anthology, which is coming out on Monday, which is very exciting, and it's the first time I have any art in print. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so the info about that is coming out on Indie Comic Union at Indie Comic Union. There's a lot of hype coming up about it now. And just pretty proud of being among so many great artists in there.
Another great shout out. If you don't follow Indie Comic Union on Instagram, go follow them. Tons of great creators in that group releasing amazing projects that really bring at least one portion of the indie comic universe together. I've said this before. There's like 3 or 4 very distinct, separate indie comic communities within the indie comic community. And there's some great creators over there that's doing some great things in one corner of the indie comic universe.
Just think
So,
of it
guys-
as different galaxies within any comic universe.
And all rightfully so. You know, I think we need all of them to a
We
degree.
need them
but
all. We need them all.
Indie Comics Dispatch is here to bring them all together. If you'd like to help us do that, indiecomicsdispatch.com, search on the Patreon app. Yeah. Guys, again, thank you for being here. Randy, we missed you tonight.
Thanks for
I was so
having us.
looking forward to talking to you. I don't know
Yeah.
what the internet situation is in Switzerland. I imagine goats and cheese or something. I don't know. Randy, get in touch. We'll get you back on here. David, Matt, thank you. This has been a great
Thank you, guys.
Really
Thank
enlightening.
you
And
very
thank
much.
you all. I had a great time.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody out there, no, I am not doing any interviews this Sunday, but you can tune in tomorrow night to Quentin's Engine Works. So it'll be live on Facebook and Twitch. And guess what? He's doing a giveaway live on the show. There'll be instructions during the show on how you can do it. He's interviewing a creator who's giving away the Recount, I believe, is the book, a reprint of issue number 1. It's sold out of the first printing, and the creator is giving away a issue 1 reprint from the second printing of the Recount. So tune in tomorrow night for Quentin's Engine Works. Promo materials on all the Indie Comics Dispatch page, and live events are scheduled. You can favorite it to get notified when it pops up. Guys, again, thank you. Tyr, as always, thank you for being my trusty co-pilot on this adventure through the Indie Comics multiverse.
I love it. It's amazing.
Thanks,
I'll try to
guys.
not. Yeah.
We will see
Keep-
you all
keep-
next week. We are doing a sci-fi night, which I am super stoked about also.
Yes.
All right,
That's
everybody.
right
See
there.
you next
Sci-fi
week.
head. Ready for it. Take it easy.
Peace.